Hey everyone, I am not Megan Tennant, and today we have a new video for you. Today I'm going to be talking about video games, but not just video games in general, about how you as a writer can use video games to create more immersive stories. A lot of people like to brush off video games as a creative medium because they think they're childish and they're simple. But in reality, modern video games are very complex and can sometimes have more thoughtful and emotional stories than some books. And for that reason, I think that some authors are doing themselves a disservice by pushing this other medium aside when in reality they could be analyzing this story for use in their own work. Some of the stories that affected me the most have been in the form of video games. And so for the month of Dystopia, I'm gonna give you guys a list of dystopian video games that I feel have themes that I think are really important to the dystopian genre. So I highly recommend that you guys go out, get these games, play them, and then put that into your own writing. You can go out and look for synopsi. You can go and find synopsises for these video games, but I think you're doing a disservice to the actual medium. They're in the form of a video game because they do a great job at bringing you into that world. I should mention, since I'm going to be talking about the plot of a number of games, there are going to be very minor spoilers. There's going to be a list down in the description below, but I'm going to try not to spoil anything super major. We'll start with the 7th theme, the meaning of life. And the game that I've chosen for this is Nier Automata. Highly recommend. So in this game, there is a war going on Earth between androids and machines. There are no humans in the picture. They're supposedly out on the moon and on a moon colony waiting for the androids, which have been built by the humans in order to eradicate the machines on Earth. And so it starts out with the main characters being a couple of androids that are being sent to Earth to go and kill all the machines to make it safe for humanity to come back onto Earth. But as the game continues, they start realizing that instead of just being blank slate machines without any type of emotion, it turns out that they're starting to evolve a little bit and they're starting to have some human characteristics. They're setting up societies to protect themselves from other groups of machines. And so over the course of the game, the androids start wondering, what is our actual purpose? Should we be killing these machines even though we're just told to do it? While in reality, they might not be as smart as humans, but they're starting to develop. They're starting to create human emotion. They're starting to create colonies. Does it make sense to eradicate this life no matter how minor or insignificant they might have been told that it is? I find this theme really important to dystopia because just with the genre, there's a lot of death and destruction. And I feel that as a writer, you should be able to distill that down into, instead of it just being, oh, that's the bad guy, so we're gonna go kill him, you should set up that they have their own motivations. They might be the bad guys in the main character's story, but they're not the bad guys in their own life. The 6th theme is fear and uncertainty. And the game that I've chosen for this one is Metro 2033, which, along with being a video game, it's also a book. So you guys, if you don't want to play the video game, you can go read the book. For this specific one, it isn't necessarily the storyline that I think represents the themes very well. I think it's the gameplay, which you can definitely take lessons from when you're creating your world and creating the hardships that your characters have to go through. So the game takes place in Russia a number of years after an atomic war, where all of humanity inside of Russia specifically has gone into the metro tunnels in order to escape the irradiated surface. And while they're stuck in these confined places where they have to deal with both the raiders trying to get their supplies and these monsters that cause people to go crazy and kill themselves. They're so stressed and fearful that their literal currency are bullets, the only thing that can protect them. You aren't just running around with a ton of bullets, you have to conserve your ammo because it's also the thing that you can buy items with. When you're going through certain sections of the tunnel, they've been collapsed and so they're irradiated. So you have air filters that you need to screw onto your mask in order to not be irradiated, but they're very hard to come by. And if you're not wearing them, you can go crazy. Plus, along with all that, you have the monsters and the bandits that are constantly attacking them from all sides to either kill them or to steal their resources. If the characters' lives are too easy in the dystopia, it's not going to come off as exciting and there's going to be a lack of motivation for the characters to actually accomplish anything. You need to make it hard for your character. You need to make it hard for them to find supplies. You need to make it hard for them to win over alliances. The 5th theme is technology and control. The game that I've chosen for this one is Deus Ex. This is actually a really old game, so you could actually probably go buy it on Steam, and I guarantee it'll run on your computer. It's very old, however the story's good. Don't go there for good graphics though. The world that's taking place in the games is currently reeling from the effect of the Great Death, which is a virus that's going around and affecting the population, causing mass hysteria and obviously death. And so the main character is part of an anti-terrorist organization who is sent out to stop the blockage of a cure called ambrosia. And while he's doing this, he finds this disease has actually been spread by the massive corporations and secret societies in order to control the population. Essentially, these corporations, which have created all the technology, have created this disease in order to make the common population dependent on their new technology. They submit themselves to mass surveillance, to a police force, and eventually these corporations want to use technology to brainwash everybody into accepting the secret society as a benevolent dictator. So I think that theme of using technology to control the masses should be a core central theme when you're dealing with technology in a dystopia. It doesn't really make sense in my mind that they would be selling this technology just for the good of humanity. I know that sounds kind of dark, but I think that's just the state of the world, is that if you provide something that people start depending on to need, in this case technology, it's eventually going to turn into a power struggle where that organization wants to control the people who are using it such that they use that technology more or gain some type of power through social politics. The fourth theme is personalities as a result of experiences. The game that I've chosen for this one is Remember Me. Now, the gameplay itself isn't super interesting, but this story is great. This actually kind of plays into the last theme a little bit about technology and control. The plot of this one is that it's the far future in an upgraded kind of version of Paris called Neo Paris. And essentially there's a corporation that has created a brain implant which allows you to download and to extract memories from the people that it's implanted inside of. So this initially creates kind of a utopia where people can pay for memories of new experiences or to remember and experience certain things inside of their own mind. Or if they're in some state of grief, they can pay this corporation to remove those memories so that they don't have to feel that pain anymore. And so eventually this company gets greedy and they start realizing that they can use this to control people. When you go to jail, basically they start erasing your memories until you become into a slave. I think this brings up a common theme inside of Dystopian where you need to make sure that the characters' personalities are driven by their experiences. We aren't just created with our opinions built how they're built. Our opinions are usually molded from our experiences over time. Without those experiences, or with different experiences, we'd be very different people. Nothing should seem random. Your readers are gonna connect with your characters a lot more if they can understand where they're coming from and why they're making certain decisions. The third theme is Introspection, and the game that I've chosen for this one actually isn't a game, it's a series of games. It is the Metal Gear Solid franchise. I love this series. The only issue is that it's super convoluted. When I was talking about games having very complex and emotional stories, this is a perfect example. You cannot just jump into one of the mini games that they have and understand what is going on. You need to have played the games beforehand because there are so many recurring characters, so many recurring themes. You have to understand the motivations of every character. There's multiple different plot twists. If you are a fan of military sci-fi and even a little mix of like anime type story plot beats, I highly recommend this one. It's very good, but you're gonna get sucked in really hard. If you want an understanding of how convoluted and complex this storyline is, go to metalgeartimeline.com and just scroll down because it is such a massive timeline. However, that makes it very hard to create a synopsis. Okay, where to start? Okay, so I think that it can be generally described as it's the end of World War II and there are a number of superpowers that have created this organization called the Philosophers. They've piled all their money together into hundreds of billions of dollars and they've created the Philosopher's Legacy, I believe it's called. While all these countries initially set out to create this slush fund in order to control all the power and the economy in the world, they eventually split up and tried to get that money for themselves. And so the game takes place from the perspective of soldiers who are in charge of trying to squash the armies of the other people and then to steal that Philosopher's Legacy and get the money for their own nation. And across that, there's cloning and cybernetics and AI and nanomachines. And why are we here? Just to suffer.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
And it just gets so crazy to the point where there's constantly these evolving machines that are creating this nuclear threat against all these nations. These characters keep getting screwed over by their own nations, and eventually the main character creates their own army base to try to create their own nation, such that there can be these professional soldiers who can live out their professional career without needing to be influenced by any type of society. And it ultimately brings up a lot of questions about who we are as human beings, what our goals are, what we're trying to accomplish. Introspection is throughout the entire series, both from introspection from a societal standpoint and introspection from a personal standpoint. Why am I still fighting? Why do I still feel the need to go out and help people that I know are eventually going to double cross me in the future? How do we even know what's best for society? Do we actually need peace? Is it possible to get peace, or is it just more important to accept that there's always going to be war, there's always going to be conflict? This is really important in terms of dystopian, because you don't want a character who's constantly driven towards some goal without questioning why they want that goal. They're not questioning what it takes to get that goal. It's important for the character to take a step back, especially after all the conflict and the pain or the loss that they're going through, in order to analyze how they even feel about that. Especially when it comes to society, there are not a lot of black and white answers to problems. There's a lot of gray area, and because of that, there needs to be thought put into what that gray area is and what it means to the character. The second theme is the continuation of humanity. The game that I've chosen for this one is Horizon Zero Dawn. It just came out and it's an amazing game. Go ask Megan, because she loves that game. The plot of this one is basically that it is the 31st century, I believe, and humanity has regressed back into a old tribal form. They know that there was this advanced civilization before them that somehow came to ruin that they call the old ones. The interesting part of this plot is that there are also these giant robotic dinosaurs basically that are living alongside with them. And for most of their lifetime, they've been peaceful. They've coexisted with these early humans. However, they've started getting something called the derangement, which has started causing them to go crazy and actually attack human settlements. And so the main character, who's an outcast from a tribe, actually goes out to try to find what is causing this derangement in order to fix it. And throughout this story, there's the constant theme of how did we get to this state? Why is there this advanced civilization? Who or what came before us, and how come they're not here anymore? What caused them to destroy themselves such that we're all that's left, that we have to start humanity over again? And eventually there's an amazing revelation at the end, which I will not spoil because it just makes the story so amazing. Highly recommend you go play it. But ultimately, I think that this general question of what happens to society after some type of apocalyptic event that destroys most of it. How do these people grow over time? Do they take up that old technology that they did before in order to protect themselves? Do they continue the conflict that happens such that eventually that humanity gets wiped out? Or do they need to regress back to a time where they have to basically act like they don't have any type of modern technology and start from the ground up again? What plans are they creating in order to continue humanity? Most humans, I think, would agree that you don't want to just sit down and let the human race die out, but then what do you do to continue it? And I think that Horizon Zero Dawn provides a really great creative reason for this, and it gives a great description as to why humanity is in the state it is and how they destroyed themselves initially. And the final theme that we've gotten to here is freedom and mania. And the game that I've chosen for this is, again, a series, and happens to be my favorite game series, Bioshock. All of the games are dystopian societies. Both Bioshock 1 and Bioshock Infinite are different dystopians in their own right. So specifically, I'm going to talk about Bioshock 1 because it was just such a revelation when it came out. It had such a great twist in it. Please go play it. I want you to experience that twist. It was a dystopia that people, I don't think, had really ever seen before. Essentially, the idea behind the first Bioshock game is that there is a society that has built themselves underneath the sea, far away from humanity. They took a number of philosophers and artists and engineers who were put off by the rules that society had imposed on them, and so they built this city where they could have complete freedom to work on whatever they wanted, however they wanted. This type of freedom, while it initially created this bright utopia, it eventually led to their ruin because they had too much freedom. The city of Rapture, which is what the city was called underneath the water, eventually came to its fall because of the mania that was created from that pure freedom that they were given. People got addicted to the bionics that they had created. People got too obsessed with their creations where the artists started murdering people. Scientific endeavors started becoming very unethical where it started affecting the general population of Rapture. And eventually this underwater city became this ruined mess of monsters of human beings. Bioshock, through its story, made the player question whether freedom was actually worth total freedom. A lot of current dystopias are all about, yeah, let's destroy the civilization because they're overbearing and they're controlling us. But they never usually continue on past that. What happens when they get their freedom? Eventually they're gonna have to enact some type of controls on the populace in order to keep civilization running, because people need rules to survive. Without some type of rule or law or repercussion for your actions, the type of mania that inflicted the residents of Rapture is going to spread and is eventually going to lead to the same dystopia that they initially freed themselves from. I think as a dystopian reader, it's really important for you to question, what are the characters actually trying to accomplish? Because freedom can be dangerous. So thank you guys for letting me rant about video games, which I love. I hope you guys all go and play those video games. I have a list of them down below in the description. Have you guys played any of these video games? I hope so. If you have, let me know what you guys think about them down below. Also, let me know down below if you want to see more of me talking about video games. So if you enjoyed this video, leave us a like down below. Please subscribe. It means so much to us if you subscribe. Ring the bell if you haven't already. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.